If you ask someone who hasn't watched the new season of Bleach yet, which character do you think got a lot of additional scenes? They might think of several characters who, despite their importance, barely appeared, like Ishin Shiba, Ryuken, some might say Chisai, who hasn't been since the Fullbring arc, and many others who were largely absent in that arc that was supposed to be the end of the story. But when you tell them there is a character who only appeared in the Quincy arc, yet now has some of the most anime exclusive scenes, they'll definitely be surprised. How could they not be? It's the captain of Squad Zero, who first appeared in chapter 516, Ichibei Hyutsibi. This character, guys, along with Senjumaru, received immense attention from both Kubo and the studio, which only deepened the mystery surrounding them. That's why, guys, in this video, we'll dive into their enigma, because both of them has many factors that make their actions highly suspicious. Not to mention their pasts, which, if revealed, would undoubtedly expose shocking truths about the ancient world Ichibei lived in and about the people who worked with Senjumaru back when she was in the Soul Society. And to begin with, guys, my focus on Ichibei and Senjumaru doesn't mean the others lack mystery, quite the opposite. Every one of them has secrets that, if it was discovered, would reveal a lot. And take Nimaya for example, he seems like the character closest to Ichibei, probably the very first person Ichibei chose to help him build the foundation of Squad Zero. After all, Nimaya is the one who created the most important weapon at the Shinigami's hands, the Asauchi. And even after the final war against the Quincy's, when all of Squad Zero had fallen except Ichibei, the first person he wanted to bring back was Nimaya. He even said he needed him. And this is true, because Nimaya's death means the Shinigami can no longer be supplied with Asauchi. As for Kirinji, I still believe his mystery is closely tied to Unohana. I mean, when did he teach her the art of healing? Kaido. And during which generation of the Goji 13 did that happen? Because knowing this information will reveal when Unohana exactly moved to Squad 4 as a captain. Now you could say, guys, that one member who doesn't seem to have much of mysterious background is Hikofune, at least for me, since she came from a time and place we're already familiar with, the Goji that had Yamamoto, the Visors, and the others. As for Ichibei Hyutsibi, what didn't exactly surprise me, but definitely sparked my curiosity even more, is the sheer amount of additions he received in the anime. And even before that, we had a lot of information and new scenes in the novels. All of this clearly shows that Kubo wants to tell us something, to highlight that this character's role is far bigger than we thought, or maybe that this character isn't who we believe him to be. In the manga, Ichibei's appearance gave the impression of a Squad Zero captain, the leader of the Shinigami, the primary protector of the Soul King, the Royal Palace, and the Shinigami's world as a whole, and we saw this in his fight against Yuaba. His powers were emphasized heavily. His main ability of naming things, his complete knowledge of Zanpakuto's names, and the terrifying powers of his Shikai and Bankai. All of that naturally makes you admire him as a Shinigami. But at the same time, it raises questions. Who exactly is he? How long has he lived? What is his personal relationship with Soul King? These things were left without answers in the manga, especially considering what eventually happened to Squad Zero as a whole. Kubo essentially forgot about them, but later in the novels, which were released before the anime's return, Kubo gave us glimpses of Ichibei from a different angle. We found out that he was the one who brought back the rest of Squad Zero, and that he was planning to make Ichibei the Soul King's successor, and he subtly showed that to preserve the current system. Tell you that Ichibei is willing to do anything, even if it means trapping a boy inside a cocoon and writing the Soul King's name on him. And that scene becomes even darker when Ichibei himself narrates how the nobles sealed the Soul King and ripped his limbs apart, an event later called the Shinigami Sin. And regardless of Ichibei's excuses that it was the Soul King's will, We never actually heard Ichibei's real opinion on the matter. All he said was that he didn't witness what happened at first, even though he claims that he was present in the original world. But the anime revealed something else. Ichibei is not that Buddhist master who appears to embody virtuous morals. The first hints of that changes made around Ichibei began with Ryu's first appearance. What struck me, guys, wasn't just the change in the scene itself. Instead of the one of the servants appearing, it was Ichibei, but rather the tone and manner in which Ichibei addressed Ryu. I mean, he didn't use an honorific or any exalted term, he simply said Ryu, unlike the servant in the manga who said Ryu-sama. It is true that Ichibei doesn't always use sama when referring to Ryu, but the tone this time made all the difference. His voice carried a certain unease or suspicion, and according to what we saw, Ryu's awakening coincided with Ichigo's arrival, who, as we saw, went there to determine whether he could be Ryu's successor. One of the additions Kobo made was a scene between Kyoraku and Nanao, where he tells her that Ichibei is a cunning person, and that he doesn't know what Ichibei might do to Ichigo. Of course, what he was going to do to Ichigo, turning him to the new Ryu, might be the very same thing that he had done to the previous Ryu. Who knows? Because in that flashback, Ichibei is seen holding Ryu in his hands and Ryu's body completely dismembered. And another shocking scene was his meeting with Yuaba, and how he was the reason Yuaba's eyes were closed, and how he laid all the responsibility for what was happening on Ryu, claiming he was the one who wanted it all to happen. And this shows how Kubo gives us several clues and scenes highlighting Ichibei's role in the past, both with Ryu and Yuaba. But when it comes to Senjumaru, the situation is slightly different. In the manga, she had also a strong presence. Yes, she was the one who do Shihakusho, and she could use her threats both to replicate objects and attack, but like the others, her role ended when the 8 guards defeated them. And still the manga did drop a hint about her, like her connection with Mayuri, and what she meant when she said to Yuaba, "It's been a long time, Yuaba." These were all elements that made her backstory seem mysterious. However, the anime revealed something else about her. Her power. Through her Bankai, we saw that she was capable of defeating the 8 guards, not to mention her dialogue with Uryu, which also carried some mysterious implications regarding Ryu's connection with the Queen Seeds. And Kubo deepened the enigma around his character when he said back when Senjumaru was in the Soul Society, she led a group of scientists. It wasn't an official group, but they were crafting certain things, and among them was Mayuri. So, uncovering Senjumaru's past, as I mentioned earlier, could reveal the reason Mayuri ended up in the Maggot's Nest prison, and shed light on what kind of relationship she had with him, and whether both of them were somehow connected to Kisuke. At least Mayuri is connected to him, but what about Senjumaru? So these are truly things related to the background of Squad Zero members and how their roots are tied to some of the most fundamental elements on the story. And I hope that one day some of these truths will be revealed somehow. In the end, guys, what do you think about what I have said? Do you find that these two characters are truly suspicious? Tell me about your ideas in the comments, and see you guys in my next video.